I want to make sure my kids can grow up around me, that can live near me and get a decent job. I live on a 2-lane road town in northeast Mississippi. And right now that's not possible if they go to get a 4-year degree because they have so much debt. So this is a turning point. This is an election that affects Democrats and Republicans and all of us together as to whether or not we can keep our young folks here. Because in Mississippi, we've lost more kids the past 6 years of any state in this country. The brain drain is killing us, and you folks in business know that. So if there's anything that I hope you remember from me speaking today, it's one figure, and that's 2%. Our rate of growth in Mississippi since 2009 has been 2%. It's the worst economy in the nation. And Tennessee's grown a rate of 23%, Arkansas at 14, Alabama at 11. We are not growing, and there's a reason for that, because we haven't invested in our people. And some of the ways that I want to mention to you that we can fix our problems is one of them is a road bill. MEC has supported a road bill for the past 5 years over in the legislature, and they had a smoke and mirror session August a year ago that did virtually nothing to fix the real problems of our roads. Infrastructure is one of the 2 building blocks for economic development. The other is, no manufacturing outfit anyway is going to look at you unless you got a 4-lane highway and a school nearby that the executives want to send their kids to. So that 2% growth is why all our kids are moving to Nashville, Austin, Atlanta. So many of our kids are moving out of our state. And there's some things we can do to fix that. Road bill is one of those. That's 8,000 working people swinging hammers, and that's how you move the economy. The other is health care. Expanding health care in Mississippi would create 10,000 jobs. It would inject $1 billion into our economy. Now think about that a minute now. Our general fund budget is $6 billion. And we've been turning down 1/6 of our general fund budget simply because whose idea it was. Tate Reeves has cost us $5 billion to our state. Every year we would generate $100 million in additional revenues from that, because Louisiana has collected $177 million in additional revenues from $1.8 billion that they would receive. It won't cost us a dime to expand that health care. The hospitals will pick up our match. It's 10% match. The hospitals will pay that. Other states that have expanded recently, I think it's 37 that have expanded, they have done it without cost to the taxpayers, and that's something we desperately need to do. I mean, the economics tell you we need to do it, but also from the heart, it's 300,000 working people. You know, when they say that's welfare, that money never touches a poor person's hands. It goes into the best paying jobs in rural communities like mine. And it's we're desperate to keep our rural hospitals open. You know, 5 have closed, 5 have been in bankruptcy over the past 8 years. So we've got to do something to stabilize those rural hospitals, and there's a way that we can do that that won't cost us any additional money. The other issue is something that MEC agrees with me on, as well as roads and health care, is education. What we need to do is pass 4K education statewide in Mississippi. Early childhood education is the best bang for a state's buck in the area of economic development. For 4K for $33 million a year, and I just gave the legislature $36 million a couple of days ago from a drug company that had overcharged us. Most of it came from a drug company. That's the first year payment toward 4K education in Mississippi. I went to Vicksburg to a school recently, and there were 4, you know, I've kept the nursery at church, I've had kids, and I figured 4-year-olds were going to be running around the table coloring, standing up. And I walk in, they're all sitting down. 6 weeks into the semester, they've already learned their ABCs. They know their numbers, they're reading from the chalkboard. 4-year-olds now are doing that. That is an investment, it's a long-term investment, but it will help our workforce tremendously. We've got to pay our teachers and get them up to the southeastern average. We've got 1,000 vacancies in teachers in our state, and Lord knows what they do for us. They serve us and touch a child every day, multiple children, and it lasts for 45 years because I remember things I learned from my high school teachers. Other areas, MAEP funding. We've got to better fund our schools. So many schools don't even have money for welding rods and metal. You know, when I went to school, we had trade skills taught. It'd be body shop, bricklaying, and those kind of things. The money's dried up. All these cuts have resulted in, and that's drying up. So what I propose that we do to fix that temporarily until we can better fund MAEP is to provide what we're doing in my 5 counties, and that is if you want to go to a community college and you live in one of my 5 counties and go to Itawamba Community College, you can go tuition free if you can't get a grant or scholarship otherwise. Now, you got to keep a 2.5 average, and it's not a full boat ride like Bernie's talking about. It's $1,450 a semester. Northeast Community College copied us doing that. Memphis has copied us. They're doing it statewide. It would only cost $6 million to make that happen in our state. That's something that would help tremendously on trade skills if we tie apprenticeships to that, fund the apprenticeships, and it will help on cutting down on the cost of a four-year degree. Instead of having 40,000, maybe they got 20,000, and then they can come back to a two-lane road town like I live on. You know, those are things that are simple. Those are things that will get past the legislature. The votes have been there to do those things the past 8 years. Tate Reeves has just blocked so many of these attempts. And what he's done is he's created an economic problem for our state that we've got to dig out of. But the good thing about it is we can do these things, folks. We can make this happen in our state. We can make these cornerstone changes so our children can stay here and we can grow the jobs that we need. Nothing liberal is going to pass that legislature. It's going to be a conservative legislature. I mean, when you hear them throwing around labels and trying to scare you, there's nothing going to pass like that. I wouldn't even support it anyway. But nevertheless, you're going to hear all these labels, but with no plan. And we can do these things without any more taxes. And in fact, what we need to do is just go back into the swamp that Tate Reeves has created with all the contracts and the giveaways that he's done in exchange for campaign contributions. If we just go back into the swamp, let me give you an example of some of the spending that we're doing. It's $240 million a year. The 3 managed care outfits in our state are all out-of-state companies. Take money from our state, $240 million. I hadn't seen anything that indicates that they're actually saving us that amount of money. Well, guess, you know, the House passed a bill and let the hospitals compete with them. And it got over to the Senate, and it never got a hearing. You know why? Because one of those companies, Centene, out of St. Louis, Missouri, gave Tate Reeves $262,000. That is blocking legislation that would give competition in our administration. So we need to go back and look at all those things, and we can do them without creating more taxes. We just got to drain the swamp that we're in. Now, I know, if y'all will listen to me just a second, if y'all just listen to me about this, because I'm talking to a lot of you that are Republicans right now. All right, you folks that are Republicans, so many have encouraged me to run for governor because they know that we'll change things that will help your kids stay here as well. We can make a difference, and I appreciate your support and encouragement. And I appreciate Republicans stepping out of your comfort zone to do what is best for our state. That's what's called statesmanship. And Lord knows we need more of that. This partisan bickering and finger pointing has gotten us nowhere. Just as I have as Attorney General, I will govern and work for everybody in a nonpartisan way. And you Republicans that want to vote for me, some of you may go in there and quietly vote and not tell anybody about it, because a lot of legislators told me that the Republican legislators that, you know, me and my family are for you, but don't you tell it. I kept hearing that, and that has continued. So I will appreciate your votes in this race, and I will govern with that in mind. One last thing, and that is I want to make sure that the MEC and you business folks help us come in and do a performance review of our spending in our state. Because we've always had money my entire life to do roads and bridges and education. I don't remember 400 bridges ever being closed in the state, and I'm going to remember back in the 60s and 70s. But in this performance review, I want you to come in and help us figure out where we can save money and where we can stop some contracts that may not be beneficial. A lot of them are. But we're going to take a look at every line item budget, and I'm going to invite you in the governor's office and work with the legislature. I've enjoyed being your Attorney General for the past 16 years. I've been honored by many of your votes and support and prayers. I appreciate your help on November 5th. Thank you. Please vote for Jim Hood, Governor. Thank you. God bless you.